Hi, I'm Nisha DeGaring, host of Good Things Utah, and I've been a longtime supporter of Todd's Belief Cast. I hope you find inspiration in the courageous stories shared by the amazing people Todd features on his show. The guests serve as shoulders for us to stand on, allowing us to see a little further and cultivate belief in oneself. Remember, you have the dignity and power to change. I encourage you to keep striving and believing in yourself. Enjoy today's podcast.
I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the incredible sponsors of the Belief Cast podcast. First, Craig from Craig Swapp and Associates. If you need an attorney, he's your guy. Trustworthy, compassionate, always there when you need him most. Next, Wasatch Recovery, the greatest university on the planet, transforming lives one day at a time. Sandy from Minky Couture, the creative genius behind the most comfortable blanket you'll ever wrap yourself in. Comfort like no other. The visionaries behind Thread wallets. These wallets redefine style and functionality. Dave Philippi from Micro Plus, pushing the boundaries of nanotechnology and scientific research to bring us cutting-edge supplements for optimal health. The Ralphs and the Debenhams, creators of Morii Nutrition and Calm. Because if you're struggling with sleep, feeling stressed, or can't focus, Calm is your answer. Special thanks to the award-winning pianist Paul Cardall for his beautiful music that brings inspiration to every episode. And finally, Gabb Wireless, letting kids be kids and giving parents the peace of mind they deserve. Right now, Gabb is offering $25 off any device to new customers with no contract required. That's $25 off any Gabb smartphone or smartwatch. Just go to gabb.com/belief. That's where you'll get the best deal. That's Gabb, GABB.com/belief. Thank you to all these amazing sponsors for supporting the Belief Cast podcast and empowering us to continue spreading positivity and inspiration to the world. Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester, and welcome to another episode of the Wasatch Way. And I have, as always, our owner of Wasatch Recovery, Mark Richards. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We both have a little frog in our throat, so should we, hopefully you guys can understand what we're saying, but it'll be good, as always.
Yep. I'm excited. My voice is a little bit deeper than it normally is.
Yeah.
Maybe a little squeak from time to time, but
yeah,
we'll be good.
It'll be good. You know, we were, thinking about what we'd do today, and we've talked about so many different kind of subjects on our Wasatch Way. Some really great things. We get really good feedback. We have a big following that listens to these episodes, and they're looking for inspiration. They're looking for help. They're looking for, how do I get out of this dark place? So today we thought, I had an idea where we would share a few of our favorite quotes and kind of why they're our favorites and how they've impacted our lives. And so we wanted to share them with you, and hopefully it can impact your lives in the way that's impacted ours. So maybe we would start off, Mark, if you'd like to share one of your quotes that maybe mean a lot to you. And
I love it.
Let's go from there.
Let's do it. I'm going to read a quote that I share oftentimes in family night. It's a pretty well-known quote, but I think it's just very applicable to life in general for everybody, but especially in our field. We get to talk about hard things on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And this quote is "Choose your hard," and I think it's so good to look at life as, from different perspectives, and this helps us look at life in a different perspective. And so I'll just quickly read it so everybody can hear it. And the quote again is called "Choose your hard." It says, "Marriage is hard, divorce is hard. Choose your hard. Obesity is hard, but being fit is hard. Choose your hard. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your hard. Communication is hard. Not communicating is hard. Choose your hard." It says, "Life will never be easy. It will always be hard, but we can choose our hard, so pick and choose wisely."
Ooh, I love that one.
I just think that's a great quote.
So why, and I think, again, that's a powerful one, but why does that mean so much to you, Mark? And why does that, I know you share that one a lot. You even said you shared at family night, but obviously that one hits home for you.
You know, it does, because I look at life and, you know, so often we say, why? Why is this happening to me? And why does this happen to other people? And why can't life just be easy, right? And sometimes I look at life and I look at this quote, and you look at a couple of these examples, and either way, you know, let's take debt. Being in debt is very difficult for all of us, right? Mm-hmm. But being financially disciplined is also very difficult for all of us. Right. So if you don't want to be in debt, you got to choose which direction, but they're both difficult. And what I love about that is, you know, it creates a perspective of, you know, do we want to go the positive direction of being financially disciplined, which is the positive way, or do we want to stay in debt, which is kind of the negative side of that? Right. But they're both hard to do. Mm-hmm. And so we can't just sit around and do nothing. We actually got to work. Yeah. And work hard to get what we want. It doesn't matter what it is, you got to work hard to get it.
Well, and I think I understand too why you share it at family night with our clients, because they come in here, they've blown up their lives, and they are choosing something. They don't maybe even realize it, but they're choosing to live a really difficult life. Right. And I know it almost sounds like so simple, like, well, then just choose to go the other direction. Obviously, there's a lot involved there, but it really does come down to choosing one way or the other. Yeah. Right. And, you know, so often in the world of addiction, we see or we hear it's not a choice. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. Addiction becomes an area of your life that isn't a choice at certain times. Right. It grabs onto you. And you can't get out of it. Mm-hmm. But once you put your mind to it and you start making those differences, then you can start to choose again. Yeah. And that freedom comes back to you. Yeah. Again, Mark, that I love the quote, and obviously I know that means a lot to you. And, you know, I think people look at you too sometimes, Mark. Oh, he's the owner of Wasatch, and, you know, oh my gosh, he's got this beautiful family and da 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 da. But if they only knew some of the struggles that you have in life, right? Right. And just the stuff that you're choosing to, like, hold your head high despite, because you could go down this dark abyss with the stuff you're dealing with, and we won't go into those details. Sure. But I think people just assume your life is just, you know, roses and, you know, white picket fences. Right. Right. And I think we look at that often, and especially today with social media. Yeah. You know, everybody wants to paint this picture that life is wonderful. Yeah. And I have to remind kids and other people, hey, they're taking a snapshot of a particular moment where life is great. Yeah. And it may not even be great in that moment, but it appears to be so good, right? Yeah. And we know it's not, because life is difficult for everybody at certain times. And most of the time it's hard, you know? Yeah. You got to work to enjoy life. You got to work to have happiness. You got to work to have that joy. And it's just one of those things. It'll last for a short period of time, but if you quit working, it's going to go away quickly. Yeah. That's what the importance of hard work. I love that. Thanks for sharing. I love the quote too. Thanks. That's a powerful one. So I'm going to share one with you that it really means a lot to me. It's by Alan Watts. He's an old British philosopher. He's now passed away, but just very profound. I might share a couple from him today. But one of my favorite quotes, and I'll share this often with the clients as well, it goes like this: when you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. If you're not ready to wake up, you're going to stay pretending you're just a poor little me. I love that. Yeah. And that one, when I first heard that, it blew my mind, because, and then I'll often ask the client, okay, so what's he referring to? What are we supposed to wake up to? What's he referring to? Right. And I look at it this way: wake up to, almost like to what you were saying before, we get to choose. Like, wake up to the reality. Okay, I'm creating this mess in my life. I need to wake up to the reality, like, I'm the cause of this. So I'm also the cure. Right. Right. So I need to figure out, okay, I need to shift my direction and start doing something productive and take accountability for what's going on. And I love the last part of that quote where he says, or if you don't wake up, you're just pretending. There's the key word.
Right.
Pretending that you're a poor little me. Pretending to be a victim. And I thought, man, that is so true. And I'll be honest with everyone listening. I've been that guy. I've been the victim. I've been the poor little me in my life, years ago, where I blamed everyone and everything for my problems. And thankfully, I had a mentor in my life who one day, I'll never forget this, where I go into this session, I'm complaining about certain people in my life and certain people in my family for my problems, and basically got a slap across the face saying, when are you going to finally take accountability for your life, Todd? And it was a wake-up call.
Absolutely.
I was like, what the hell? And he's like, basically saying, no one's going to change. If you're waiting for someone to change and then you're going to be happy, Todd, then you'll be waiting your whole life.
Right.
And it hit me, Mark. It was one of those like, oh, so I'm in charge of my life. And so I decided, okay. I started, and really I was pretending to be this poor little victim. I wasn't a victim, but I was pretending to be, and it caused me so much misery. So that quote really stood out to me. And every time I find myself struggling, I have to ask myself, am I pretending right now to be a victim?
I love
Right?
the pretending word.
Right.
Because we are pretending when we're in victim stance.
Totally.
We just feel bad for ourselves.
Yes.
Now, again, everybody feels that
Yeah.
at certain times.
Yeah.
And it's okay. But you got to make that choice to get out of it quickly.
Well,
right?
yeah. Well, we've all been victims,
Right.
at a certain point, but not all of us pretend to be the victim after that.
Right.
Some people thrive from it. Some people grow from it, right?
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
it's so true. I love that you said that, because what a great quote. Life happens to us.
Mm-hmm.
You say that all the time.
Yeah.
Life happens for us,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
We want to say life happens to us. No, life happens for us.
And I want to make it clear, I learned that from James Allen's writing, and he wrote that stuff back in 1903.
Isn't that amazing?
I don't know how he knew it back then, but he was saying that very same thing. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And anyway,
Right.
So I want to make it clear that
Yeah.
that's where it came from.
And if it's happening for us, then we're pretending to sit in our victim stance and
Yeah.
feel bad for ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
And you got to make that choice to get out of that mindset.
Yeah, and it goes along with one of the best definitions I've heard of depression is pretending to be someone you're not.
I love that.
Right?
So true.
And for those who may, well, what does that mean exactly? It's not to say we don't feel depressed and that, sometimes there's a chemical imbalance and we have those things in our brain, our serotonin levels are off, and that causes the feelings of depression.
Sure.
But I have found in my life when I'm most depressed is when I'm pretending to be someone. I'm trying to fit in over here. I'm trying to fit over there. Or if I'm just playing the victim, I am cultivating more depression into my life. It doesn't mean, and part about, go back to your quote, choose your heart. It's hard to raise your hand and say, I need help.
Right.
So I might be playing the victim and I'm cultivating depression, but I need to raise my hand and say, Mark, I need some help. Will you help me? And you might call me out and, redirect my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore I'm like, oh, I needed to hear that from Mark. I needed a little, wake up call, if you will.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it. I love it.
Right on. Thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah.
So what's another quote
right.
that stands out to you?
I got
Mark?
another quote here.
Yeah.
Again, this is about us, and life is about us, and life is about you. Life is about what we do with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Bruce Lee, I love Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
So here's what he says. He says, don't speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and cast spells. That's why they call it spelling.
Spelling. Yeah.
I love that. Change the way you speak about yourself and you can change your life. What you're not changing, you're also choosing.
Ooh.
So we're going back to that choice
yeah,
again, right? But it's hard. But I love that he is so positive about himself.
Yep.
And he understands that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if we talk bad about ourselves,
Yeah.
bad's going to happen. I'm
Yeah.
a huge believer in that. You've got to be positive. You've
Yep.
got to look at yourself and see the good in it.
Yeah. Boy, profound words from Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's amazing.
Right.
And really think about that, folks, what was just said there. When you say something negative, you're casting a spell over you. Ooh, that hits home. So if I say something like I'm this bad person or I'm stupid or I'm no good, even if I'm kind of half joking, I have to understand I'm casting a spell. Yeah. Or in other words, I'm under its power.
Right.
And now, therefore, I walk around disbelieving I'm stupid or I'm no good.
Well, we always say there's a little bit of truth in sarcasm, right? So that's why he says that. Don't even
Be
joke
careful.
about it, right? Because if you're saying it in a joking manner, we all know that through insecurities and through energy, that there's always a little bit of truth there. If you're going to talk negative about yourself, there's a little bit of truth or you wouldn't do it.
Yep.
Right?
Totally.
We've got to try and stay positive about ourselves.
Yeah.
We're all different. We all have such amazing qualities. It's just so hard for all of us to see them. And it is. It's hard. We're our own biggest critics. I mean,
really
I'm as
are.
hard on myself as probably anybody is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also recognize the good that I can do and that I do. And I often tell our residents, go home and write, in your book, 3 things that you can do better that day. But then so many people stop at that. And I always say, but then go ahead and write the 3 things that you did great that day.
Yeah.
Because they forget to do that part of it. They forget to give themselves credit.
Any credit.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just
that.
powerful from Bruce Lee to say that. Hey, don't speak negatively about yourself.
Yeah. Love it. Beautifully said, Mark. Okay. So here's my next one. My next quote. It's by Rumi, R-U-M-I. He's a 13th century Persian poet. And I don't know how he knows this stuff way back then, but this quote goes like this. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, and I'm going to change myself.
I love that.
Right? And again, that stood out to me too, because I think a lot of times we're anxious to improve our circumstances, but we're unwilling to improve ourselves, and therefore we remain bound. And I just quoted James Allen right there as well, but they fit together. But I think when we work on changing ourselves and we focus on just bettering ourselves, then we're in a position to make an impact in the world. And even if that world is just our immediate family. A lot of times we think, I want to change the world. That's a big, bold thing. And not that that's not a bad thing to think about, but really your world might just be your wife. It might be your children. It might be your spouse. It might be your girlfriend. It might be your coworker. Your world might be that small, but how powerful the change you can be if they watch you be better. Just watching you do that. So anyway, that one stood out to me because I thought, if I'm going to change or have any influence in the world, I better dang well be improving myself.
I think there's so much truth in that. And the reason I believe that so strongly is, again, working with our residents. Oftentimes our residents will say, what's going to happen after? And I always say, you don't have to go out and profess your recovery to the world, right?
Right.
All you have to do is just live in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Live a different life and watch the effect that it has on the world.
Yeah.
So if they change themselves and their behaviors and their actions, look and see what the world will do differently by looking at you, right? So we've seen oftentimes we'll have a family member walk in and they make these massive changes. And over the next year, 2 years, all of a sudden, family members start to gravitate and want to change their life. And friends want to gravitate and change their lives. And it's amazing just to see them live.
Yeah.
They're not even putting it out there. Mm-hmm. They're just living differently. And all of a sudden, the world around them wants to change because they see the difference and they see the happiness. They see what's happening. And I think that goes right to that quote. You change yourself, you're going to change the world. Yeah. You can't change the world if you don't do anything with yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't have the influence. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's almost the old saying in the New Testament where it's like, don't hold your candle under a bushel, stand upon a hill and let your light shine to the world. Right. Let the world see your good works. Yeah. Meaning you're doing good in the world. So they just view it and go, oh, wow, how's he doing that? Or how's she doing that? Right.
I want that.
I want that.
Yeah. Just by that example, I just think it's so powerful. So,
I love it.
Great quote, Tony.
Right on. Thank you. Do you have another one you want to share?
I do have another one.
We'll do one more each, and then we'll...
I love it.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm.
Ooh.
And you think about that.
Yeah.
Life is solving problems. Life is, we look at life as, oh my gosh, I failed here and I failed there. You're not failing at anything.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that he says success is stumbling from failure to failure, but you haven't lost your energy.
Yep.
What that means is you're learning from every experience in your life. And again, as we know, you're going to learn probably twice as fast or 3 times as fast in a struggle than you are when it's just hunky-dory.
That's a good point.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
So I love that he says that. And I love that he says success is not final. And I think we talked about that a little bit.
Yes.
You might feel like success is great and things are good for a minute, and then all of a sudden things change a little bit, and you got to keep working.
Yep.
And it's the constant evolution, right?
Yep.
We've got to continue to evolve with the world, and the world's going to present problems. And I think I'll just say it the way I think it. I think God wants it to be that way. I think he wants to give us trials all the time so that we continue to grow and don't get complacent.
Exactly. Love that. And I love the imagery of stumble. Like, think about when you stub your toe or you hit something as you're walking, it actually speeds you up. It accelerates you, and you got to kind of catch yourself.
So you don't fall.
So you're doing it faster, right? It's kind of like,
I love it.
I love
that.
Yeah, that is amazing. Winston Churchill, words of wisdom from the past.
Right.
Right. And again, the power of words, man, it really does make a difference when you hear certain things. You know, James Allen once said, a spoken sentence can turn the tide of history. So you hear something, you might hear one word, Mark, or you might hear one sentence that changes your life.
I agree.
We see it all the time here. They like, hey, I heard this at alumni meeting, or I heard this in one of Todd's groups, or I heard this in a process group, and that word changed my life, or that sentence, I get it now.
Yeah.
That's the power of words, and that's why we're sharing what we're sharing today.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And let's try and keep those words positive, because we know that works both ways. Mm-hmm. The power of words can affect people's lives forever.
Yep.
Right?
You can go the other direction.
Can go the other direction really quick.
Yeah.
And so we need to watch what we say to people also, because we don't know how that affects other people.
Yeah.
And, but words are powerful.
Yeah, words can save a life. Words can take a life.
I agree.
Right?
Yep, 100%.
Okay, so I'm going to share a really kind of a long quote. It's more of a statement, but it's by Alan Watts again.
Nice.
And I'll be honest, I came across this a week ago. And dude, I sat at my desk here crying my eyes out.
I love it.
Like, seriously, and I get choked up even thinking about it, but I want to share it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So, obviously, I want you to share, and then I'll share why it touched me so much. But I think you'll love it, Mark.
Nice.
Okay, here it is. And there was no title to it, so I titled it myself. I titled it, Isn't It Curious by Alan Watts.
Love it.
Here's how it goes. Isn't it curious that the moment you begin to grow, the people around you begin to vanish? But when you were reckless, lost in the noise of indulgence, you were never alone. But now as you strive for something more, silence. You see, human beings cling to familiarity, not because it's good, not because it's right, but simply because it's known. And when you begin to change, when you step beyond the version of yourself they once knew, it unsettles them. Most friendships aren't built on deep connection, but on shared habits. If you drink, they drink. If you complain, they complain. If you fear, they fear. Misery, after all, loves company. But the moment you no longer entertain the drama, the gossip, the self-destruction, the crowd thins. Not because they dislike you, but because they do not know you anymore. And truthfully, they do not wish to. So what will it be, everyone listening to this podcast today? To stay the same, surrounded but stagnant, or to walk alone for a time and discover the rare few who resonate with your higher self? Because the irony is the loneliest path is the only one that leads to true belonging.
Powerful. Right? Powerful.
Wow. And dude, I read that. I don't know. It was like I had to hear that for some reason last week.
I think we could all hear that.
And I'm working on memorizing this thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to take a snapshot of that.
Yeah, no, you can have that
so
if you
good.
want. But what are your thoughts, Mark? I mean, obviously there's a lot there, but I'd love to hear why it touched you, because I knew it would touch you, and anyone listening to it, I know it touched you as well.
Well, what it first does to me is it makes me think of so many of us that we know that live in this situation.
Yeah.
That fear to be alone for just a few minutes is so powerful. But it also is so eye-opening to see, and I think he is dead on when he says, you start to make those changes and silence.
Yes.
Right? All of a sudden, people are uncomfortable. They don't feel comfortable anymore being around you because the habits that you're creating or leaving behind don't feel right anymore to them.
Yeah.
They're not making the change that you're making.
Yeah.
And I just think that, just like it says right there, the first thing that came to my mind before you even got to the sentence was misery loves company. And misery does love company.
Yeah. It does.
It does. It's interesting and it's unfortunate, but it's the comfort factor, right? It's, I want to be comfortable. And if I'm not comfortable, I got to pull away because, but then on the other side, the person who's making the change, it's hard because you have to be uncomfortable for a minute, being alone, being okay, learning to love yourself, right? And just being okay to do a different thing. And then again, where we went before, then watch and see what the world does. See who you attract. See, you're going to start to attract different people.
Absolutely.
I think about this, why it hit me so strong, is I think about my own kids in these situations these days. And they're so scared to get out of that comfort zone, to be a little bit different because they want their friends and they want
for sure.
Yeah, they want to feel okay. Yeah. And yet
I know
we see what they need, but it takes a ton of courage to get there.
Yeah, it does. And very well said. I had the opportunity to speak at Riverton High School last week, and dude, 400 kids showed up at 7 a.m. It was insane.
Amazing.
And afterwards, the message, I mean, the message was, guys, you got God's DNA pumping through your veins. Show up to school believing that. How would that look? How would you act? How would you, and it may unsettle some people. It may cause people to withdraw. It honestly, you may feel alone for a minute, and that is tough. And I think of the young girl or the young boy in high school who's trying to make it through that minefield, who is separating from the gossip, they're separating from the drama, and they feel alone.
Right.
But like it said at the very end, the irony is the loneliest path is the one that leads to true belonging. Whoa, that hit me so hard.
I love that.
And that's the key, is if we're willing to sit through that lonely time, you're never alone. It feels lonely, but you're never alone. You got your family, you got your friends, and da-da-da-da. But, man, I'll tell you, the kids afterwards were just like, man, I needed to hear that so bad. And it's given me courage to really maybe take that lonely path for a while.
I love
until I feel like I really do belong.
Oh, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful for the younger generation especially.
Yeah.
Because they're so easily influenced.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to have the courage to do that, I mean, what a great statement.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me share that, Mark.
I love it, Claudia. That was perfect. And I love that you put that title on. Isn't it curious?
Isn't it curious? Yeah. And Alan Watts, he's one of my heroes. I study him all the time. And anyway. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show as always. I love your insights. Again, I love your desire to help people, and just the people you really go above and beyond to make a difference in people's lives. And we got people who have a roof over their head because of you. They don't have a penny to their name, and if it wasn't for you, they wouldn't have that. So I just want you to know I see that from a distance. Yeah. I see what you do, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate it.
Well, and I appreciate you, Todd. I mean, I'll say it right here on this podcast, you're the unicorn. You're an amazing human being. The passion, the talent, everything that you bring to these people, the lives that you change is just beyond me. And, you know, you have so many great quotes yourself that I
Yeah.
hold close to me
Sure.
every day. And I think about all the time.
Thank you.
And it's just an honor for me to work with you. It really is. And I just love you so much.
Oh, love you too, brother. Thank you for everything. Well, if someone is listening to this and they want to get a loved one some help, they need some treatment or they need something, how can they get a hold of you?
Give us a call. Our main number is 801-901-0024. And anybody's welcome to call or text me directly. My mobile number is 801-898-7778. And feel free. Either one of those numbers come to me and a couple of other people. If you're ready, if you're not ready, if you're willing, we will help you. You know, if this is the right spot, we'll bring you here. If it's not the right spot, we'll find the best spot for you.
Perfect.
We're here to help, and we love what we do.
Perfect. Love it. And I encourage anyone listening to this to share this episode with the one you know who's struggling. Just send them a link to this, have them listen to it, then follow back up with them, and it'll break the ice. And you can say, hey, give Mark a call, shoot him a text, just go take a tour.
Yep.
No obligation, but just come check us out. This place really is the greatest university on the planet, and we do some really great stuff here, and we watch lives get changed, and it's beautiful to watch.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your support of Wasatch and for Mark and myself. Thank you for believing in us, and we appreciate all that you guys do as well and the battles that you're fighting, and we learn from you guys every single day as well, and we're just grateful for that opportunity. So we love you, and hold your head high, and remember, choose your hard. Okay? Take care. Love you guys.
Okay, bye.